All right. So before we dive into diabetes, can you tell us how you got started in drag? What inspired you?
Yeah, of course. Well, I actually did musical theater growing up, and it was kind of the one avenue that I had where I felt like I could be the most myself when I was younger, knowing that I was queer but not out to anybody. And I lived in a really small hometown in the middle of Missouri in the Bible Belt. So it wasn't like I knew a bunch of queer people. So when I went to college, I actually went to a college about 3 hours away from my hometown. And I wasn't studying or doing anything with performing. I went to school for graphic design, so a lot of my time was behind the computer. And I really missed just kind of like the community around performing and around theater. So I remember going out to a show. I didn't know that it was a drag show. One of my friends invited me, and it was one of my first times going out to like a queer nightlife thing because, like I said, wasn't a thing in my hometown.
Hmm.
And I saw this drag show, and it wasn't like a pageant drag show or anything. It was kind of just like weird people doing weird things, and I really enjoyed that. And so I asked if I could be a part of it the following month, and I got started doing it. And it was very similar to theater, so I liked
Yeah.
that I could be whatever character I wanted to be. I didn't have to like follow a script or anything. So that's how I got started with drag, and then it just kind of evolved from there. Yeah.
When you dove into the drag scene, did you ever worry that diabetes would hold you back?
No, there were times because at the time I had just got to college. I was away from my family. I was diagnosed at 15, so I was diagnosed
Okay.
at, an age where you can understand things and you can do things for yourself, but you're still a
Hmm.
kid and you're still not doing everything you should be doing. And so by the time I left for college, I had a really good grasp on how to take care and manage my diabetes. But when I got to college, different schedule, different lifestyle. So it was a little rough, especially when I first started drag and going to college and trying to work a day job, trying to manage my diabetes because my schedule was all over the place. And if you're not on a consistent schedule, sometimes that can throw your things off, your levels,
Right.
especially if you're not eating at normal times of day. So I never really worried about it, but it was something that I really struggled with, especially towards the beginning of my drag career. And I still, it's one of those things people think with diabetes that once you understand it, that you're just good all the time, or
Hmm.
just because you know what you're supposed to be doing all the time doesn't mean that you do or do it very well. So it's definitely something you have to check in with yourself, and your health comes first, because without your health you can't really do anything else. So I definitely make it one of my top priorities, obviously, especially while traveling.
So you just mentioned a check-in process. What does that diabetes check-in process look like for you?
So when I get really nervous, my legs start shaking and I feel like kind of sick to my stomach. And that's very,
Mhm.
very similar to the symptoms I experience with low blood sugar. So generally about like the time between when I'm getting ready and when a show starts, I always check my blood sugar just so I know what it's at the beginning of the show, because I don't eat during the show, and typically I don't drink anything except for water to keep myself hydrated.
Right.
So I know I won't be like taking any carbs in, or it shouldn't be spiking for any reason. So I'll usually check my sugars before. And then if we have like an intermission, I'll check it in the middle just to make sure that I'm like cool, calm, collected. Um, and then of course after the show, that's when I go ham and I start eating everything that in sight, because I don't have to worry about messing my
Right.
makeup up or anything. So
Mhm.
um, that's what I mean by check-in. Just occasionally making sure that you know, I'm feeling shaky because I'm nervous, not because I have low blood sugar.
I also live with diabetes, so I understand that even when you're
Yes,
going to sleep, it can have similar symptoms to low blood sugar. So it makes a lot of
absolutely.
sense.
For sure. I feel that. I feel that. Or like, I know sometimes after I eat, you know how your blood sugar will spike for a little bit and then
Hmm.
drop down. I always get, especially eating Mexican food or drinking lots of coffee, my mouth gets so dry. And that's a
Hmm.
common like thing for high blood sugar for me. So I feel like I was much better at it when I was younger, being able to tell if I was high or low. But now that I'm getting like a little bit older, I feel like it's not as easy.
I agree. You almost become so used to it, it's even harder to distinguish.
100%,
Mhm.
100%.
So, when you're working with other people for a performance, do you let them in on what your needs are in like a worst case scenario in case of emergency?
I always make sure that either the bar or the venue that I'm performing at, we have something called a rider, which is
Okay.
requests for talent. And I
Mhm.
always include either like orange juice or Sprite or something that I can have just in case, because you never know. But typically, unless I'm like with somebody who knows me really well or I'm traveling with an assistant, I don't really feel the need to tell just random people on cast that I've never met before, like, hey,
Right.
if I start acting funny, like you need to jab a needle in my finger or, scan my arm.
Right.
Um, but I just got back from an Australian tour with the whole top five of my season of Drag Race.
Oh, how fun.
And there was one day that I was not feeling well at all. And I told Willow, who was our winner of our season, I told her, I was like, hey, girl, I'm going to show you how you check my blood sugar just in case, because I am feeling funky. So I let my really good friends, know, and they know the process if something happens. But everything has been good, knock on wood. Don't have to worry
Yeah.
about any of that. But like I said, it's kind of a day by day journey.
You never had a moment in the middle of a show where you had to stop to treat a lower high?
I have never had to like pause anything. Like I said, I always check before I go on stage. So usually if something's wrong, I'll fix it before I'm, in front of a whole bunch of people. That is like my worst case scenario, is having to like stop mid number
Oh my
and
gosh,
like
yeah.
be like, I'll be right back. People would probably think I like pooped my pants or something, like I needed a bathroom break,
Uh-huh.
but no, it's just I have to drink some orange juice backstage. But no, hasn't happened yet. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but it's possible.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully it never does, but you're right, people would probably think it was just, like, part of your act.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, they'd be like, what is she
Yeah, you could
doing?
play it off, right?
I could. I could. It would probably frighten me, but that's okay. Go with the flow.
So, what is the most challenging thing about living with diabetes and being a performer for a living?
It's definitely the schedule. Schedules
Yeah.
all over the place. There are nights where I am up until 4 a.m. There are nights where I don't sleep at all. There are days where I'll eat like a really big meal at the beginning of the day and not eat again until after my show at like 2 a.m. So
Mhm.
that is definitely the part that I struggle with even now. Like I struggle with it
Mhm.
sometimes just because I'm never in one place for very long, and sometimes it's
Right.
hard. I try to eat really healthy. Now that I'm getting like older, I notice my body changing and I'm trying to eat more healthy. But being on the road, it's like all I want to do is get something fast, or like things aren't
Mhm.
open at 3 a.m. other than
Right.
McDonald's or Taco Bell. So
Yeah.
um, that would be the hardest thing, is making sure I'm making healthy eating decisions and never having like a set sleep or food schedule. And like I'm active at random points of the day. So I'll have a low at random times, very all over the place sometimes. But when I'm home and I have some time to recollect myself, generally I can get back on like a regular schedule or a normal cycle, I guess, if you want to call it.
We know that you travel a lot for your work. Have you picked up
Mhm.
any travel tips or hacks to share with our audience?
For diabetes specifically, for the longest time, I was so behind when it came to different ways to check your blood sugar. I was just so used to the stick and poke finger method, where you just,
Mhm.
have them read the blood. And I remember getting I don't know if I can like drop name like brands or anything, but a Freestyle Libre arm scanner.
Yeah.
And the first time I got one, it was when you had to have another device. It wasn't connected to like a cell phone or anything. And I
Oh,
actually did
yep.
not, that was not my favorite technology to use. But however, they just came out with the Freestyle Libre 3, and even the 2 connects to your phone. And I just recently, I would say within the past 6 months, has started doing that as
Oh,
my like
awesome.
how I check my blood sugar. And that has saved
Mhm.
my life because one, I don't have to carry around anything extra. It's literally just attached to my phone, which is on me at all points of the day anyway.
Mhm.
So if anyone out there is like me, like technology situations, I really encourage you to at least check into it or see if that's something that would be available for you specifically, because it makes things 10 times easier. You don't have trash of the little, sticks, blood sugar reader
Yeah.
sticks everywhere, like in the bottom of your bag, or like you find them
Hmm.
randomly all over your house. So that's been like my best thing for travel because it's so convenient and so easy. Um, as for other travel tips, I am like on TikTok 24/7. TikTok is like the bane of my existence at this point. But I fall into this hole on TikTok of like scary hotel things that have happened to people. So my
Oh.
travel tip is you always, 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 and this is what I do because I'm a psychopath, but I always do the like lock on the door. I always turn the deadbolt and then I put my suitcase against the doors at night because I've heard some terrible stories. I also love a true crime podcast and I've heard things like this on podcasts as well. So
Hmm.
always make sure you lock your hotel room doors because, you need to keep out intruders. And more importantly, I've had so many instances where I'm sitting in my hotel room and it's like 9:30 in the morning and I'm still half asleep. And then room service knocks and I don't answer because I'm just like half asleep. And then they try to
Hmm.
barge in. So lock your hotel room doors.
I'm the same
Yes,
way. I would much rather lock all the doors and make sure I can sleep at night.
100%. And it's like, I even have the little like door thing that says privacy, please, or whatever. And
Hmm.
it's like, they don't even care about it. So that's okay.
No, they don't. They've learned to ignore it.
Yes, they ignore it until they hit the suitcase, as they're opening the door.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So could you give our audience members a brief description of your journey with diabetes so far, from your diagnosis day to now?
I was diagnosed at 15, and when I was first diagnosed, I really didn't know what diabetes was, and it was really scary for me, as I'm sure it was for
Yeah.
a lot of people. I'm very thankful, however, that I was diagnosed at an age where I could kind of comprehend all the ins and outs and how to manage diabetes. Obviously, it's a whole work in progress, and it
Mhm.
continues to be. Um, but I was at least thankful that I wasn't like 5 years old or really super young, because I cannot imagine how hard that is, not even for just the individual, but like the parents or the guardians,
Right.
worrying about their kids that might not know how to take care of their diabetes. So
Mhm.
um, I was going through my like typical angsty teenage years when I was diagnosed, and I didn't know what it was per se because, as a 15-year-old, you're moody anyway, you're tired
Yeah.
anyway, you're mean to your parents anyway.
Yep.
So my mom, like when we found out, she was like, I fully just thought you were, just being an asshole like every other 15-year old.
Yeah.
So I got diagnosed at 15, and for a really long time, I did self injections rather than having a pump or anything like that. And, I think for me, I didn't mind self injections. I kind of liked knowing that I was in control of what I was putting into my body. I have an insulin
Mhm.
pump now. I started using one, I think around 17. So I went through my diabetes journey for like 2 years, not using
Okay.
an insulin pump.
Yeah.
And when I finally got one, it did change my life. It was wonderful because I wasn't obviously having to get up and go to the bathroom and like shoot myself in an Olive Garden bathroom.
Right.
But I will say sometimes, it's technology, and technology always has the possibility of not working sometimes. So
Mhm.
um, I just really encourage, like, if you notice anything remotely wrong with any technological device that you have to manage your diabetes, like, get it figured out. Don't sit and wait. I remember when I was in college, um, while doing drag, it wasn't in anything like particular, but when you wear your insulin pump while being in drag, you have to put it under all of your layers. And
Mhm.
there's lots of layers to a drag body. There's like a corset and then multiple layers of tights, even sometimes padding. And so I
Mhm.
would put my pump underneath all of that. And I remember at one point, my pump keypad was a little laggy, and it was because the keypad was always like right up against my skin, and
Sure.
the moisture in the water would like mess up the
Oh,
technology.
okay.
behind the keypad. So
Hmm.
long story short, I was away from my home and I freaked out one day because I woke up and my keypad just wouldn't work on my insulin pump. So I had to
Oh
call my
gosh.
mom and get that all situated. But
Hmm.
yeah, so as far as my journey, I still use an insulin pump. I use Freestyle Libre scanners to check my glucose. Um, with my schedule and lots of traveling, I try to see my doctor every 6 months, like I'm supposed to. Um, I think the most important thing is you do make time for your health. You know,
Hmm.
I've found that people don't really freak out about their health until something's happened to them. But a lot of things, especially with
Yeah.
diabetes, can be, stopped or at least slowed down if you do things in advance or if you notice things about your body. I think being very in tune with your body is very important. That is something that I've definitely learned while having diabetes. Don't ignore the signs that your body is trying to give you. I hope that answered your question. That was a lot
Yeah,
of.
that's fantastic advice. No, I love hearing about your journey from diagnosis to now. Do you have any
Yeah,
tips for our audience members who also feel really busy, whether with work or family or play, and feel like they can't stop to manage their diabetes in the way that they would like?
totally. My number one thing is like if you stop to go to the bathroom every couple of hours, or if you stop just to reapply your lipstick, or if you stop to have a bite to eat on your break at work, like seriously sit down, make time to check everything you need to be checking. I know that it's hard and I know that it's not the easiest thing to deal with, especially when you're surrounded by other people that more than likely don't have to do things like that.
Hmm.
But like I said earlier, I think without your health and without making sure that your body is, you know, 100%, like other things in your life will slowly start crumbling as well. So
Yeah.
you just have to like check in with yourself, leave little reminders, surround yourself with people that will remind you. I know my boyfriend, there will be times that we will be like in the car and we'll be driving somewhere and I'll be like, I think my blood sugar might be low, but I didn't pack any snacks. He always
Hmm.
has, 15 carb granola bars in his bag. So surrounding yourself with people that will always have your back just in case if you're forgetful like me. Um, but yeah, I think if you're a little uncomfortable or need some help, make sure you have a good team behind you. Have some good friends or some good family members that hold you accountable and make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, definitely. That's great advice. I'm sure a lot of people will appreciate hearing that.
Yeah, just get yourself one good friend that really takes care of you.
Yeah.
That's all you
Yes.
need.
I'll just one.
Just one. That's all you need.
Yes.
Quality over quantity.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely.
Mhm.
So we've talked a lot about the challenges of living with diabetes and being in the performing arts, but I wonder what is the most rewarding thing about living with diabetes and pursuing the arts and being able to do that full time?
Totally. Okay, I'll say this. You remember when you were like younger and you would like type in on Google your birthday just to see if anybody famous or anybody from the movies or TV shows have the same birthday as you?
Hmm.
I remember doing that and being so excited, like finding out that Rihanna has her birthday's the day after mine, but I still tell people we have the same birthday because I think that's sickening. But I think just representation. And it's not like diabetes is a disease that you can't manage or that you can't still live a really well-rounded lifestyle. So
Hmm.
I think it's just cool that that's like an added little fact about me. And if somebody
Yeah.
finds out, even I really wasn't that vocal about it on the show, or at least if I was, it wasn't included a lot, my
Okay.
journey with diabetes. So it's cool when people come up to me and be like, I knew your name was Daya Betty and I didn't get it until I found out that you were a true diabetic. And I'm like, well, I'm not just an asshole that's like using it as a stage name,
All
like I
right.
truly live with it. So
Yeah.
I think it's just cool for people to find out that, if they see you on TV and enjoy what you bring, just to find out that extra little fun fact about you, that's always pretty cool.
Do you have any tips for audience members living with diabetes who are afraid to pursue a career in the arts because of instability or the uncertainty around it?
Totally. I am a believer and I'm watching a show right now. I won't say the name of the show, but one of the conversations that was had is, do you think that your everything that plays out in your life, do you think you have an effect on how it plays out based on the choices that you make or whatnot? And
Mhm.
I'm a firm believer that you have full control. You know, there are obviously other things that might be happening that has an effect as well, but you truly
Mhm.
have a grasp on the direction that your life heads. And I completely understand being nervous or worried or being like, I don't know how I will be in this situation because I have something like diabetes.
Mhm.
But I truly think if you want something bad enough and, you know, like I said, you take care of your body and you take care of your mind, your mental health is just important. Like you can totally achieve anything you want. I mean, literally, if I can do it, this queer, weird kid from the middle of nowhere, Missouri, like if I can do it, literally anybody else can do it. I think it's just all based on determination and how bad you want something. And if
Mhm.
you're living with any sort of, you know, immune disorder or any sort of disease, like that should not get in the way of, you know, what you love and what you enjoy doing. Um, and it's kind of like that old saying, it's like die doing what you love. And now I'm not saying I'm going to die doing full drag or
Right.
anything, but like, you know, I
Mhm.
want to put the pedal to the metal. You know, I want to make sure that I am living the life that I want to live despite any circumstances that I might think get in the way. Because at the end of the day, truly, you'll be fine. It'll be okay. You can truly do whatever
Yeah.
you want. Like you
Mhm.
really can. Now, if I could use that same persistence to clean my house, that would be great.
Then
But
everything would be perfect.
yeah, but that hasn't ebbed over into my, you know, my goals yet. So
So finally, we have many team members and audience members who are fans of Drag Race and yourself. Can you share any fun tidbits or your favorite memories from the show, whether related to diabetes or not?
my sister Bosco, she we have a very famous wall in the workroom. It's a pink
Mhm.
brick wall.
Mhm.
And towards the end of filming, we were all like searching around set, something we could steal or take, you know? And
Mhm.
some girls were like, oh, I'm going to steal. There was this wall of shoes that somebody was going to steal shoes from, or this wall of makeup people were going to steal makeup from. I stole a bunch of like, um, what are those called? Cotton swabs for your ears. Because
Oh,
whenever
yeah.
oh my gosh, I use them for everything, but I stole a bunch of those because they had like so many cotton swabs. But Bosco took a pair of scissors and cut a hole in the brick wall of
Oh
the
my
set
gosh.
because it's just a fabric. It's like a pink thin fabric,
Oh, sure.
and
Okay.
she took that home. So I don't know. I don't know if they know that or not. But I mean, you know, I don't know if the producers of Drag Race know that. But Bosco cut a hole in the wall and took it home with her. So that's a fun little story. Yeah, I don't know. I think it is really cool because our season was a season with a lot of diverse individuals. We were all very
Mhm.
strong-minded in our own way. And despite us all being so different, we are a very close cast. Like as we're talking, I'm literally having notifications pop up from our group message here, our
Oh, that's
season
great.
14 group message.
Mhm.
So yeah, I know some other seasons aren't as close as we are, but we're a really close knit group of people, which is a good thing and a bad thing at sometimes. But yeah, we love we love Drag Race. We love our sisters. We love our, you know, the community that it's kind of helped us build, and that's a really cool part of the show in general. Is just giving people that might not feel like they have a family, a chosen family, or a group of people that understand them or know what they're going through and have, you know, lived what other people have went through as queer individuals. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. I love that. That's such a great energy, and I think a really wonderful message to end on, and also a reflection of the diabetes community that doesn't often feel connected.
Yeah,
So,
totally.
yeah.
Absolutely. And I think it's really cool. I know, I don't know if anybody else is like this, but if I'm ever at like the grocery store or the post office and I see somebody that has an insulin pump attached to their waist, I will
Mhm.
always be like, I have diabetes too, or I have that same insulin pump, just because it's nice to know, other people live with it, and there is other people that recognize it. And I think it's important to build that community around, around that. So if you're watching this and you have type 1 diabetes, and you ever see someone in public that has, a Freestyle Libre or an insulin pump or whatever, please say something to them. Just go up to them and, let them know, because I know when I was younger, like 15, 16, and if someone came up and said that to me, I felt so much more encouraged and less alone. And it's just nice knowing other people live what you live through, Yeah.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our audiences before we wrap up the interview, whether related to this topic or other things we didn't cover?
Well, I think the coolest, I'm really, I wish I could show you my drag room, because this corner is super clean, but like the entire thing is a destruction, like crazy right now. But as I'm cleaning things up at the beginning of the year, I always remind myself that the sexiest accessory you can have to any outfit is something related to your diabetes. And I actually just bought a case for my insulin pump that I'm going to stone. I'm going to put tons of rhinestones all over, and I'm going to be more flashy with it. And I know a lot of people try to conceal it. I know for a long time I felt like a robot having all these medical and technological devices like on me 24/7. But I want people to be proud of, of the fact that
Yeah.
we have this. So bling out your pumps, wear short sleeve shirts, show off your little scanners. Like, it's sexy. It's the best accessory of all. And don't hide it. I think that's
Mhm.
something I would like to see from a lot of diabetics is, just the pride behind it and the community behind it, like I was saying earlier.
Yes, I think that's a New Year's resolution we can all get behind, is making our
Yes.
CGMs and pumps sexy.
Yes, 100%. Do what you have to do. Just
Yeah.
don't get the keypad wet, because you might have to
Oh, right.
get a new device if that's the case.